Hey guys, welcome back to Candid Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Now today I will be reviewing Free Guy. I know it came out last week, so now I have a little bit of time to review it. I had a lot of fun with it, and Ryan Reynolds is truly the only person that could have brought Disney and 20th Century Fox together. Yes, Ryan Reynolds brought them together. Deadpool brought them together. This movie was a lot of fun. It was very entertaining. The one thing that I didn't like about this film is that there were pacing issues. The beginning was strong. We got to see Free City. We got to understand that we are, in fact, in a video game with Ryan Reynolds as Guy. And we see the repetition, kind of like he's locked in this endless cycle of, Groundhog Days, the exact same thing over and over and over again. He's living the exact same life. Everyone in Free City is living the exact same life. So we find out that they're in NBC and they're in there. They're living the exact same life every single day. So we got to see that aspect first, which I really appreciated. We got to see a different side of Ryan Reynolds, a more positive Ryan Reynolds. But at some point, Guy finds the love of his life. It's like a love at first sight, which is Molotov Girl, played by Jodie Comer. And he changes. We see that Guy changes. He starts questioning his everyday life in Free City. And I thought it was really well done. I thought it was entertaining. There's so much you can do with repetition, for comedic purposes, and that's what they did, kind of like a guy falling through the window multiple times, getting robbed, getting held at gunpoint. You can really play that up within a video game concept. So I thought that was really well done on their part to kind of show Free City and Ryan Reynolds changing, like his character Guy changing his mentality, knowing that he can do other things. He can go for a cappuccino instead of, 2 creams, 1 sugar, or whatever the order was in the movie. So it was really fun to see that side of it. And you get invested in these characters. Like Lil Rel Howery was so fun as his buddy, his best friend, and they had a great chemistry together. So it's always fun to see Lil Rel Howery. He is so funny. We got to see more of him. He's absolutely fantastic. So their chemistry was great. But here is where the issue lies. Once we are taken out of Free City, that's where you lose the momentum of this film. The pacing in Free City was great, really strong, entertaining. You get invested with Guy, but then once you're taken out of it, you have to kind of like readjust your mind and readjust where you are in establishing that we're in the actual real world where these video game developers and people who are coding behind the scenes, and we get to see the other side of it. That's the good thing about this film, is that we get to see both sides. We get to be within the video game, and then we get to see them constructing it or changing it or, doing that stuff or even playing it, which is really, really interesting to see. So we see both sides of it, which is really well done. In this movie in particular, the outside characters, the real people, were really interesting, and they had a great story behind the scenes and, out of the game. I thought it was really well written for what the movie was, to be perfectly honest. So we had both senses, we saw both sides. But again, like I said, with the pacing, this is where things start to slow down. So we have Jodie Comer, who plays Millie, and Joe Keery, who plays Keys, on the outside of Free City. These are the gamers, the game developers. So Keys and Millie had developed their own game where their playable characters have a mind of their own, and they eventually would be, basically artificial intelligence, where they would evolve on their own and all of that. Taika Waititi's Antoine, which is the COO, whatever you want to call him, of Tsunami, kind of stole their idea, pocketed it, revamped it, and created Free City. But their version is still in there, which is called Life Itself. It's still in there, and they don't know where it is, but they would like to try and find the disk, the hard drive that would kind of expose Antoine. So that part of it was really interesting too, because this happens. We get to see the ins and outs of the game development, what it takes to to actually make a video game. So I thought that was really, really cool that they did that. It was interesting. Joe Keery and Jodie Comer had great chemistry. I didn't really expect anything much from the human side of things. So the entire middle portion is where going back and forth from being in the game to being outside the game and slowly trying to figure out how to get the hard drive and yada yada, all of that. It was a bit tough to sit through just because it felt like it dragged on. This movie is not long either. It's like an hour and 40, but it felt like 2 hours and 10 minutes. Like it exceeded that runtime for me anyway. So it was entertaining, but at the same time, that middle portion, they could have just cut some things out, kept it, moving a bit faster. The third act is a lot of fun. And then this is where you see the beauty of the technology that we have now. The VFX work in Free Guy is fantastic. I was really happy with it. Of course, it's not like perfection, we get that, but there's so many things that you can do in a video game world that again you can't do in reality, so you kind of like suspend your belief, and it's just really cool that you see like bridges assembling everywhere, you see things disassembling, you see people who are frozen in the streets, you see so many different things. You see guns appear from nowhere, you see weapons in general, and it's the only world that you can really play around with it, that it's very Fortnite-esque. I don't want to say that, but it did remind me of Fortnite. I wish that I saw this in 3D, or I wish I saw this in IMAX, because being in this movie, as someone who plays video games, I'm not like a hardcore player, but I do play some video games, and it was just really fun to sit there and kind of experience that on the big screen, because we rarely have that level, of technology and detail when retelling video game stories. So video game adaptations have been really rough, but something as like loosely based on on Fortnite, for example, with Free Guy, you can really play around with anything. So the VFX work in the third act, really appreciated. The other thing that I really did not like was Taika Waititi as Antoine. Taika's awesome. He's really cool. He's really fun as Korg. He's a great director. That's not what I'm saying. But in this particular role as Antoine, he had to be like an ass. Excuse my language, but he had to be really rude and arrogant, and I didn't really like it. He had to pretend to be mean, and I don't think Taika's like that at all. So it was just very out of character for this actor to put on the villain persona, because I didn't buy it. It was very over exaggerated, and it felt campy to the point where he was trying to mimic what would a hipster do in the situation of being the head of this video game development company. So it was just very over the top, which made it very cringy to sit through. And that is what really took me out of the human element, the outside world element, because I just did not get behind him whatsoever in this movie. And I know what you're probably thinking, but he's the villain, we're not supposed to like him. It's not that. There are some over-the-top villains that I absolutely love and I'll laugh at because they're just crazy. For an example, I watched Space Jam 2: A New Legacy, and Don Cheadle was over-the-top, arrogant, in your face, really rude, kind of an ass. And he did it so well that he made Space Jam fun as the villain. In no way is Space Jam 2 that great, but Don Cheadle made it fun. And with Taika, something was off and I didn't really vibe with it, unfortunately. So that was another aspect. It was the pacing and Taika Waititi's performance as Antoine that I just didn't click with, and that's why I gave Free Guy a 3 out of 5 on my Letterboxd. Or else, again, it's very entertaining, it's a lot of fun. What they do with video games and the development and being in the game, being outside of the game, that duality was really cool to see on and off screen. There were plenty of cameos. One in particular that I just screamed, the entire theater was cheering, and it was just a really cool moment to be a part of that. And with Free Guy, you saw what Disney has under their belt, has in their library, and it was kind of subtle compared to other films that literally just put their IP on display and it's just like they vomited everything out instead of just perfectly placing very iconic things under their belts on screen. So I think they did that quite nicely. The other thing with Free Guy is that they didn't know how to end the movie. They didn't know how to end the movie. There are two endings. One was cut short, and then there was a post-credit scene, and it was just kind of like, you didn't know how to end this. I kind of don't want a sequel just because of the way they ended it. So I don't think there would be a point to a sequel. Again, I love Ryan Reynolds, but we need that Deadpool 3 instead of Free Guy 2. Let's get on board with that, or freaking put Deadpool somewhere because I'm dying over here. Love seeing Ryan Reynolds back on screen. Also, Channing Tatum knocked it out of the park. I loved him in this. And again, he's someone who I miss on screen. So we need to put Channing Tatum in more things because I really miss him. I really do miss him. So that is my review of Free Guy. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can always find me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Come on over, join in the conversation, and I'll catch you guys later. Keep watching movies.